Hello, and welcome to the 22nd edition of Central Intelligence.
Hi, and welcome to the 30th edition of Central Intelligence.
Welcome to episode 54 of Central Intelligence.
Hello, and welcome to the 69th edition of Central Intelligence.
Hello, and welcome to the 110th edition of Central Intelligence.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Central Intelligence.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Central Intelligence.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Central Intelligence. I'm Kennison Ray.
And I'm Grace Tiao. Immigration has been a topic of discussion for many years.
Gladys Hernandez and Addison Pierman unfold the immigrant student's perspective.
With my classes, the demographic of students that I have from all over the world, immigration is a central part to that.
Contrary to typical high schoolers, immigrant students have bigger fears outside of the classroom.
They're worried about, of course, which doors are open to them as far as employment goes, and they worry about deportation.
You know, with the previous election, there were lots of fears going through our immigrant communities.
That day was kind of sad due to the fact that a lot of my friends from school who are illegal, they came to school with the fear of being deported, and I think that should not be right.
The day after the election, I vividly remember that. I spent the day reassuring my students that just because we had a new president didn't mean that someone was going to come and knock down their door the very next day and take them away.
Regardless of your political view of the issue, they're concerned with their own personal security and safety at that point.
Students and their families take the risk of immigrating and seek a better opportunities.
The reason why my family moved from Mexico to the U.S. was because there's a lot more opportunities. You know, you can go to school, you can get scholarships, and, you know, you can become somebody better.
Tengo visa. Mis padres, como tuvieron algo problema, que miraron que no era como buena economía y buena educación, entonces a mí me beneficia porque la familia que tengo que es de allá y no puede venir para acá. Dice que es bueno que yo esté aquí porque me puede enseñar muchas cosas al estar aquí.
Usually the hardest challenge that we have is to convince them that it does pay off for them to focus on their education.
A lot of my friends, they are illegal and they plan on going to college, but you know, it's going to be really tough for them. That just makes them give up in school.
We know that you've got bigger problems right now, but if you don't focus on your schoolwork or your education now, you'll have less opportunities to change your situation in the future.
The thing that an undocumented student can do would be to take advantage of our educational system and just learn everything that you can possibly learn, because once you have that information in your head, no one can take it away from you.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Gladys Hernandez and Addison Pierman reporting.
Climate change has become a rising issue across the globe.
Ashlyn Vauble and Emma Brown investigate the causes and possible solutions.
Many people believe that carbon emissions are simply created by cars, cows, and trains, when in reality, it's much more.
The way that most people typically grow, agriculture is one of the highest emitters of carbon into the atmosphere.
Anytime you use any fuel or fossil fuel that generates carbon dioxide, you're affecting the carbon footprint in the environment.
On July 23, 2019, BBC News announced that humans have 18 months to save the planet before climate change is irreversible.
The climate is sort of spiraling in a downward direction. We're almost at tipping points for ecosystems which could wreak havoc on the entire Earth.
Growing, you notice it with just different big weather swings, also with the different pests that are making their way to this climate from more southern climates.
Although climate change seems like an unmanageable issue, there are ways for everyone to make a change.
So switching to renewable energies will decrease our carbon emissions, and that's going to be a good thing in helping to sort of curb all of our emissions of fossil fuels and things that are damaging to the ozone.
Went back about 15 years, most of our power came from coal, but in last few years, starting 2009, we have a lot of renewable energy resources that we are using. I think it's up to all of us to make those wise decisions and make sure that, we don't contribute to climate change.
I'm a Christian, and I believe that originally in the garden, it was a gift for us to tend. We were originally meant to be caregivers.
Every single person has probably the moral obligation to make sure that the earth and the people that live in it they stay safe and we're not dying prematurely because of something that totally could have been prevented.
Adults have figured out what we need to do, but they haven't taken any action, and this is going to affect our generation and our future. We need to realize that we're the ones that can do something about it.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Ashlyn Vauble and Emma Brown reporting.
Protesting has become a large part of the modern political community.
Kelsey Zimmerman and Grace Tiao report the reasons people protest.
Within recent years, protesting has become an outlet for young people to express their opinions.
I personally protest because I see a lot of flaws in the society around me, and I see issues in my everyday life. As a minority, I see racism and homophobia all the time, and I like to protest that kind of stuff and tell people why that's not okay.
I think protesting is important because it gives voice to people in the community who normally wouldn't have a say in things, but they really get to get out in public and just tell people how they're feeling about certain issues.
I personally protest because I am very opinionated on a lot of issues in today's society, and protesting gives me a way to express how I feel.
I think it's important to show the community and those around me that I'm not complacent to what the administration is doing currently, to show we can't go on the way things are going, and they're trying to disrupt normalcy since their normalcy had been disrupted.
In March of 2018, Hannah Brashears oversaw the organization of the Springfield walkouts protesting gun violence.
I think it was important because the politics in Springfield are mostly led by older white people, and I thought that's not actually representative of our population. And so I started organizing those because I knew the students would want to get involved, and I thought it was so important for our community to see how much our students care about the issue of gun violence and how much it affects them.
Although it's become much more common, there are still hesitations that come with protesting.
I feel like a lot of people are nervous about protesting because they don't feel like they'll be perceived very well.
It seems like this crazy radical thing to do. I just know that all of the protests I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot, have been peaceful.
People are really just trying to get their opinions out there. Nobody's trying to cause any harm to other people or to hurt anybody. So I really feel like that if you feel strongly about an issue, you should go out and show your support.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Kelsey Zimmerman and Grace Tiao reporting.
Culture Fest was a local event held last month to celebrate the culture within our city.
Kennison Ray and Elizabeth Swords explore the importance of these events.
Springfield has made it a priority to celebrate the cultures within our city. On September 14th, a group of individuals blocked off Commercial Street to celebrate Culture Fest.
Culture Fest is a citywide festival to celebrate, collaborate, and cultivate ethnic diversity in our city. We did celebrate through national food and a lot of entertainment from different pockets of cultures. Celebrating cultures and showcasing ethnic diversity is important because that's who we are. That's our story.
Every community has different cultures, and having a community that will respect them for who they are really just helps the whole environment as well as the people in it.
It'd make a big difference for how people act. If people knew more about just why I look so different than the average person walking around Springfield, I think it would cause a lot less racism.
The importance of celebrating culture surfaces in the individuals it impacts.
I think it's good to celebrate it, and I think it would make people feel a lot more educated on it, so maybe they'll feel more knowledgeable, so they wouldn't be as scared to start a conversation as they would be otherwise.
Culture could be better represented if we celebrated everything about that culture.
It's exposing other people to your culture by letting them see the great things that occur within it.
The desire for equality, appreciation, and acceptance is mutual among all ethnicities.
Everybody still lives in their own little lane, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping that we can be a pioneer in crossing over to other people's lanes.
I hope that more people are educated on different cultures.
I hope that one day Springfield can break down the barriers that exist between various cultures and that we will be able to celebrate the flaws as well as the beautiful aspects of every single one.
I'm hoping that your generation will rise up and take it to the next level. I am just one person wanting to do this and help an idea to become a reality, but I know that your generation can do it much better than I can. I encourage young people, our community members, to just love one another, respect one another, and grow together.
Encouraging you to appreciate the representation around you, this has been Kennison Ray and Elizabeth Swords reporting.
November is Transgender Awareness Month.
Maggie Courtney and Cal Bussin give us an inside look at the meaning behind the community.
As Transgender Awareness Month approaches, it is important to consider the impact the Springfield community has on transgender individuals in our city.
I've gotten death threats online. I've gotten people telling me I belong in a camp. I get insults and harassment all the time. I deleted some of my social media just because it was so bad.
It's exhausting. Even if we were in a perfect world, it would still be hard to be trans, kind of by definition. It's harder when people expect you to prove yourself. You have to be more male than everybody else. The inner conflict has honestly been nothing compared to having to deal with the world.
The Glow Center, located on East Commercial Street, provides support for the LGBTQ+ community.
It's being and doing things in a community of people who are just like you, who understand exactly what you're going through. So if you need resources, if you just decided to come out and you say, okay, I'm gay or I'm trans, and what do I do now?
I remember the first time I came out to someone and I said, I think I'm a guy, and I was like really scared and really nervous, and she was just like, yeah, I know.
I knew from a fairly young age that I didn't really like being a boy, and I was always kind of jealous of my female friends. I got a lot of support when I officially came out, and like on social media and everything, lots of people messaged me. People I didn't expect, people that I thought wouldn't take it well. I hadn't even processed that I was now eligible to be on homecoming court until I had saw my name up on the banner. Definitely an aspect of Springfield being a lot more accepting of a community than I expected it to be.
Regardless of Springfield's acceptance, a few psychologists disagree with the current climate surrounding the transgender community. A study conducted by Dr. Lisa Littman of Brown University suggests that the recent rise in individuals identifying as transgender is due to a concept called rapid onset gender dysphoria, which categorizes being transgender as something that is socially contagious.
The article's trying to explain away transgender individuals and to say that they don't really exist, that it's a fad, and that is simply not how life works.
People forget, I think, sometimes when they have opposition to social groups that those actions have consequences. It's one thing to just say that you oppose transgender people or that you think we're mentally ill or whatever, but if you actually disrespect us in person, that's still disrespect, and having a political agenda doesn't excuse that disrespect.
Yes, you can find arguments on both sides of it, but truly, a transgender person is who they say that they are.
Whitney Russell Ice has one tip on how we can make our community a place where transgender people are free to be themselves.
Be a nice person. One, it doesn't take a lot to say oh, you know what, that's not my life. I don't get to have judgment over you or tell you how to live your life. It's a life, and it is a life that they deserve to live.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Cal Bussin and Maggie Courtney reporting.
The attitude towards the Central football team has become negative over the past years.
Lily Boyer and Katie Seiko dive deeper into this issue.
Of all the sports, football receives the highest percentage of the money.
Central High School's football team has been the center of controversy surrounding their winning record.
We were walking out of a game where we lost pretty bad, and there was a grown adult, and he said, "How does it feel like to be on the Central Bulldogs losing team?"
Everybody just thinks we suck and stuff.
I think the last time that we would have won a game would have been about, 5 years ago.
The football team has 8 coaches that seem to change regularly, rather than most other sports at Central, with 1 or 2 consistent coaches.
This is my 5th year here, and this will be our 3rd head coach that we've had.
We have a lot of turnover every year as a coaching staff, and so it's easy to say that there's new coaches every year. These coaches aren't working either, and point fingers
having a small team has created big problems.
We don't have the numbers of other schools, and so it's hard to have realistic game-like practices.
If I'm only playing offense when the defense is on the field, I get to rest. I'm a little more fresh than our guys who are out there for offense, then they're playing defense, and then they find themselves right back on offense.
Kids don't want to come out for the football team because the football team is not seen as good. And the reason that the football team is not seen as good is because we don't have kids come out for the football team.
No one believes in us, and they don't want to be a part of the program or anything.
I feel like the boys definitely tried their hardest. I feel like people don't like to give the team a chance. Even though we've had many losses, the boys still continue to work hard.
Central's coaching staff isn't just focused on improving athletic ability, but more so the well-being of their students.
We're not only having to be coaches, but we're having to be role models. We're having to be father figures. We're having to be people that these kids don't have in their lives.
My coaches helped me become a better player. They always got my back, and we're just a family.
More importantly, we're trying to create better men, and knowing that you being in their life has made them a better person somehow.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Katie Sako and Lily Boyer reporting.
Not all therapy is for humans. There are benefits for pets as well.
Rachel Dole and Joseph Tetlow take a closer look into therapy to help our furry little friends.
Everyone has a unique connection to their pet. Whether it be through their love or through their loyalty, pets find a way into our hearts.
With horses, I would say my favorite part is the connection that my dad and I have over them, because it's something that he showed me a lot of it when I was growing up, and then it became something that we bonded over for a really long time, between showing horses in competitions and connecting with them and just having those memories.
Especially their primary maybe caretaker, there is a better bond, because in a way I think that animal knows that they are being helped. So again, it just makes the bond even better. It's very important because again, they're more family members now than they used to be. There's a total switch of what people do for their animals. Often we see more families not having children, human children, in which their pet, kind of might take that place.
The River Canine Pet Rehab Center helps to improve and extend the lives of our best friends.
So I think some of the benefits are, if let's say a pet can't tolerate a medicine, maybe they've got some organ problems that makes it to where they can't take a drug. So it's nice to have an option to relieve their pain that we don't have to worry about side effects. Unfortunately, there's a lot of older pets who just lose the ability to, get up and go outside, or they're in so much pain that they won't get up and they'll go to the bathroom on themselves. And, as the pet owner, that's really hard to watch. And people feel like they have to make a decision to euthanize, when their pet is having such a poor quality of life. And so, I help get those pets moving again. And there was a client there with a dachshund who had been paralyzed and couldn't walk. But when you put the dog in water, the dog could walk completely normal. And the owner said, this is, when my dog comes in for her two times a week therapy, and she gets to get in the water and walk, that's the only time she can stand up and be a dog, really be a dog. It's things like that make it completely worth it.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Joseph Tetlow, Rachel Dole, and Sid the Corgi reporting.
Pronouns are an essential part of a person's identity.
Zoe Hamilton and Lila Kaira learn more about the importance of pronouns.
So my pronouns are she, her.
Well, my preferred pronouns are she, her, but I'll definitely go by they, them.
I go by he, him.
Personal pronouns can have an immense impact on how an individual portrays themselves.
I started going by she, her on August 4th of this year, and before then I went by he, him pronouns. The experience of coming out was very good because I only got messages of support. The people that didn't support me just didn't send messages at all.
It was just like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and it really didn't even feel like I was coming out at all, honestly, which not a lot of people can have that experience.
Although the coming out experience may have been pleasant for some, new frustrating challenges have arisen since.
So since I am not out at work, I get misgendered pretty regularly because I work pretty much full-time hours.
It's the opposite of what people might expect. It's the people that I'm very close with that tend to get it wrong more often because they're more used to what I used to go by.
Respecting one's pronouns is a way to support transitioning individuals.
I put a lot of energy into getting people to gender me correctly, because that's basically what it is. You know, I don't do these things out of my instinctive love for spending an hour every morning and several $100s looking more feminine. It's a pain. I do it because I don't like getting misgendered, and so when I do get misgendered, it feels like that's all been a waste.
And that's what misgendering someone is doing, is saying, no, you're not who you think you are, you're not who you say you are, I know who you are better than you do. And that's why it can be so hurtful, and why it's such a traumatic experience for transgender people who are trying to live their true life and trying to express who they are.
Fighting society, fighting laws, fighting policies, sometimes fighting our own bodies to try and make this happen. When you get misgendered, it feels like you're losing that fight.
Like, you know in your heart that you're something, but you're just not like that on the outside. And it hurts when other people can see that outside, but not the inside.
The appropriate and respectful thing to do is to acknowledge that that is their identity and to refer to them as such.
It does help us. It makes us feel better, more validated, more understood, more respected, and a little less tense.
From Central Intelligence, this has been Zoe Hamilton and Lila Caera reporting.
Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at CHS_CI.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Central Intelligence.